my friend. Welcome to this episode of Heal with Yen. In this episode, I wanted to talk to you about why narcissistic parents can shape their children to be codependent. If you want to watch more videos like this, that is all about having narcissistic parents and to understand it and learning to recover from the damages that your narcissistic parent or parents have caused you and shaped you, please hit the like button below and subscribe to my channel so you can watch more videos like this. Well, welcome. My name is Yen. I am a life coach and an author of a best-selling book on Amazon. Well, let's get started. Since narcissistic parents are very, very arrogant and are feeling entitled, they spend almost all of their energy and time and resources talking about their needs and wants and talking about how important it is to fulfill their needs and wants. And they are very, very egocentric, self-centered, and extremely selfish people. They're very bossy. They're extremely controlling. They devalue feelings. They devalue relationships. They actually only care about their own needs and wants. And the reason they have children is to use their children as their own possession to get attention for themselves, to use their children to do things they want them to do, to use their children as narcissistic supply to feed their own ego and their own pride. That's the reason they will feed and they will put a roof above their children. Their children live there is to feed their narcissistic supply. Children growing up with narcissistic parents are very, very exhausted. They're feeling very confused. They can have depression at a young age because they simply feel they are non-existent. In order for them to have a relationship with their narcissistic parents, they develop the tendency to be parent pleasers because that is the only way they can survive living under the same roof as their parents. They please them by talking about the things their parents enjoy talking about, by giving into their unrealistic demands, and doing things they probably hate doing. They probably would do things that purely out of obligation. They do things that they really feel there is no joy. But because their parents are demanding it and they're very, very entitled, so children left with almost no choice but to please their parents constantly. They listen. They don't really have a chance to talk because their parents always steal the center stage to talk about things they're interested. And as long as the child wanted to talk about their interest and pursuing what they want, parents takes over of the conversation, either by rejecting their children's idea to be silly or to be wrong, or they're manipulating, convincing the children that what they're feeling or what their desire to talk about is really wrong, or it is not important, or it is not as important as the topics that their parents wanted to address and talk about today at the dinner table. So children left feeling very, very stressed out and feeling their needs are being very, very neglected, and they don't really even know who they are. They only know their parents are very, very loud and their parents' needs are always take center stage. They are followers. They simply have to keep giving in, finding a way to basically give in to their constant demands. Is very, very exhausting. It's very, very stressful and causes a lot of anxiety for their children to keep up. And no matter how much narcissistic supply their children manage to supply for their parents and trying to keep up with their insatiable demands. And their parents normally are very intense people because they have insatiable desires. Their appetite for fulfilling their ego is literally a deep, dark, empty hole that simply cannot be filled up, because deep down they are very insecure people. They don't really take responsibility for their own actions. They don't take responsibility for anything. They blame if anything goes wrong, including they blame to their children and pointing fingers at other people. Anything goes wrong is always other people's fault. It's always other people mistreating them or neglecting them or not giving them enough for their needing and wanting, because they're feeling entitled. They feel what they need and what they want is above everybody else. And somehow the world and the universe should evolve around their existence. And they're teaching their children that their children is second citizen class. Their children's existence, the parents are doing them a favor to feed them and to bathe them or to putting a roof above their head. And they taught their children, oh, parents make so much sacrifice. They're constantly brainwashing their children that the kids should feel very, very lucky to have these narcissistic parents who are constantly brainwashing their children that their kids should, the kids owe them. Basically, children growing up with narcissistic parents feeling they are not enough. They can do the world, they can bend over back and forth to please their parents and constantly giving in to their demands, but somewhat there is never ever enough they can do to please their parents' insatiable desires. The consequences are children grow up without an identity. They tolerate people who violate their boundaries, and they tolerate people who are abusive. People don't respect them as human beings, don't see them as valuable human beings. They can be tossed around as possessions. People mistreat them, and they are people pleasers, and they are followers, and they have poor boundaries and low self-esteem and self-loathe, and can easily give in their power for someone else's to misuse their power in order to have dominance in their lives. So never to say they are always stressed out, feeling anxious and exhausted, needless to say. And overall, they feel no matter how much they do, it is never enough to please others. Well, there is a deep, dark, and empty hole in their own heart and in their own soul that they really, really need to be noticed for who they are. And they also need to get their fair share of attention in order to exhibit their identity and to find their true worth. Not until they seek recovery and they learn to draw boundaries, their own need is always going to be left unfulfilled if they keep tolerating their parents' narcissistic abuse. If you find the information that I provided to be helpful, please don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel so you can hear more tips and get more resources on how to heal and recover from narcissistic parents' abuse, how you can reclaim your power and reclaim your beautiful, get your identity back, and stop tolerating people who actually abuse you, and learning to love yourself, and learning to develop relationships that is authentic with people whom you can trust and respect and love who you are. Until then, I look forward to see you at my next episode. Take care of yourself and your loved ones.